Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. Look who I'm with. The miserable liberal Ron Placone is here.
I'm miserable.
Howdy, howdy. I'm happy.
So, get this. We've talked about this before, and I've played this video before. There's Peter King. Oh, fucking crack shit, motherfucker. Jesus Christ, the crackers. Peter fucking King. Anyway, so he's interviewing. This is about the Russia xenophobic conspiracy theorists in the establishment press in the Democratic Party. So I just interviewed Norman Solomon last night, who's a media watchdog, and he works with FAIR, F-A-I-R, which is a great media watchdog. He told me, and he reminded me that in the book Shattered, it reveals where this Russia thing came from. Now, I've explained it a couple times on the show before. In Hillary's run-up to the 2016 campaign, they did research. One piece of research that was revealed by WikiLeaks was that Hillary Clinton's biggest vulnerability was her connection with Russia. Yeah. When people found out about the Russia uranium deal and Bill Clinton getting $500,000 and the Clinton Foundation getting $142 million, people were less inclined to vote for her. I showed you that before. So that was already embedded in them, that she had a vulnerability being tied with Russia. That was Hillary Clinton's vulnerability, revealed by their own internal documents. I showed you this before. They claim Russia hacked their servers, and it was an act of cyber war, and we should talk. So they don't want to talk about what was in the emails. They want to talk about who did it. And if it was an American who did it, it wouldn't be a big deal. So they have to make it look like it's some kind of another country's trying to take us over. And, we'll go with the Red Scare like Russia, even though they're not communists anymore. So it doesn't make any sense, except we're primed already as Americans to be ready for McCarthyism. So it is working. Here's the thing about that. Their server, which they claim was hacked, they never allowed the FBI to investigate. Never. The FBI has never seen that server. The FBI's not. They weren't allowed to. They weren't allowed to. Isn't that something? Why wouldn't you want the FBI to look at your server if you think Russia hacked it? Maybe because you don't think they did. This is separate from whether Trump is corrupted with Russia. That's another story. This is just about the DNC server being hacked by Russia. And they wouldn't allow it to be examined by the FBI, which right away, that's a red flag. And so their whole story is bullshit. That's it. That stops right there. Investigation over. You didn't let the FBI look at your server and they wanted to? That's it. I don't believe another goddamn word you say. Well, we hired our private company that we're paying? Yeah. You mean CrowdStrike? Mm-hmm. You mean the one that's been revealed to be horrible? They already had to retract their story about their Ukrainian missiles and the... Yes? Yes, them. Here is Peter King interviewing the former DHS, Department of Homeland Security head. He was the head under Obama. And he's going to ask him about the DNC server and if he offered the DNC to help secure their server because they claimed it was hacked by Russia. DNC was going to offer how to help them. Here we go.
I would just say, maybe it's editorializing my part, that really is, to me, an unusual response by the DNC. I mean, if you're talking about presidential election, you have an unprecedented amount of cyber hacking by a foreign power, an adversary from my point of view, and that they would not accept all the help that could possibly be given. Especially, I mean, it's not as if, not that you would be partisan or anyone else, but it's not even like it was a Republican administration trying to intrude into the DNC. This is a impartial governmental entity, FBI, DHS, and they didn't accept it. I just find it very hard to, to comprehend.
Well, my interest in helping them was definitely a nonpartisan interest.
I know that, yeah.
So this is the guy, Obama's DHS, Department of Homeland Security. He was saying, I was offering to help them secure their servers so this wouldn't happen again. And what happened?
And I recall very clearly that I was not pleased that we were not in there helping them patch this vulnerability. The nature of when you're dealing with private actors and even political organizations, DHS does not have the power to issue a search warrant or get a search warrant and go in and patch their vulnerabilities over their objections.
So not only did they not allow the FBI to inspect their servers and confirm that it was a Russian hack, they wouldn't even take advice from they wouldn't let the Department of Homeland Security come in and help them secure their servers. So I don't know how gullible you have to be to think that the DNC is telling the truth, but you have to be pretty gullible. Hey, by the way, did you know gullible's not in the dictionary? Look it up. So if you are on a news show and you are pushing this bullshit, you are a propagandist. Not plain and simple. You are a propagandist and you are carrying water for the corrupt DNC, which cheated the progressive out of our fucking progressive president, which is why we have Trump. The establishment press goes along with the Democrats 100%. This BS Russia story. Oh, Russia hacked our servers. Really? Can we see them? No. Oh, well, you sound credible. Even though every one of them at the DNC has been a proven public liar. Debbie Wasserman Schultz had to resign because she got caught lying and cheating. And she lied every time she went on television and claimed she was neutral. She lied every time. She lied when she said Bernie Sanders supporters were like Trump supporters. She lied when she said Bernie Sanders was a sexist. And she lied when she said Bernie Sanders supporters were violent. And she rigged the primary for Hillary Clinton and lied about it. So she's a liar of the first highest order, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. But she lied at the behest of the establishment, so there was never a price to pay for that, which is why she's still in Congress. She's proven to be screwing over her own party's voters, running an unethical, immoral, cheating, rigged primary. Nobody calls for her seat. Donna Brazil caught lying and cheating, sneaking questions from the CNN broadcast to Hillary Clinton to screw over Bernie Sanders. She didn't even have to resign the DNC. These people cheat out in the open. They're lying, cheating, and stealing right out in the open. That's how fucking brazen these neoliberals are. That's how brazen they are. I don't give a shit. You see that? There are lying sacks of it, and you are, but if you believe this, you are gullible. Guess what? Donald Trump tweeted out something today. Donald Trump's tweet was, why did the DNC refuse to turn over its server to the FBI and still hasn't? It's all a big Dem scam, an excuse for losing the election. You ever heard that saying, even a stop clock is right twice a day? Even a Donna Tanahan's game show host is right twice a day. And this is the one of them. And Jake Tapper takes that tweet of Donna Tanahan's, and what does Jake Tapper say? Do you see what Jake Tapper says? I'll tell you what he says. Jake Tapper says, some of you are going to dislike hearing this. Uh-oh. A newsman has to first apologize for telling the truth. That's how bad it is in America. That a newsman has to publicly first pre-apologize for the truth he's about to tell you. You shouldn't have to apologize for the truth, Jake. You should have to apologize for all the times you repeated this Russia bullshit. You should apologize for your company paying Corey Lewandowski to come out and spew propaganda. That's what you should be apologizing for showing Trump's empty podium instead of a progressive who should be running our country. That's what you should be apologizing for not sending reporters to Standing Rock and reporting what the police said uncritically. That's what you should be apologizing for. Not apologizing for the truth. Here's what he apologized for. Some of you are going to dislike hearing this, but the DNC's inadequate response to the FBI DHS on the Russian hack is a legit question. That's fastball down the middle establishment water carrying Jake Tapper saying that. Isn't that awesome? That's Jake Tapper, who will never mention the petrodollar, will never tell you the truth about what's happening in Syria, Libya, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Afghanistan. He'll never tell you the truth about that stuff. But he will admit this. So look, a little truth seeped out. And he first had to pre-apologize, because if I'm going to tell people something they don't want to hear that's a factual, I have to apologize for it, especially if it's about Donald Trump. I have to get people ready for the truth. The DNC responded to the Tapper.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
DNC responded. They go, at Jake Tapper, please see our response today. You want to see what their fucking response was?
Russia, Russia, Russia.
So I'm going to read this to you. I'll move off a little bit, and I'll read it to you. I'll try to make it big. I'm going to tell you what that says. Okay? That says, the top line here, it says, the DNC has and will continue to cooperate with law enforcement on Russia's interference in our election.
Oh my God.
That's the first sentence. The DNC has been in regular contact with the FBI for many months, and the FBI confirmed the DNC has provided all the information it needed to make its assessment.
Sometimes we like the FBI, sometimes we don't. Depends on the week.
It's interesting.
Not officially in there.
It's interesting. They could actually give us the direct information from FBI, but right now it's just hearsay.
It's just hearsay. Isn't that interesting? The next sentence is, and this is this. Right, the middle sentence is, the DNC was contacted by the Department of Homeland Security months after the DNC worked closely with the FBI to remedy the intrusion. The DNC then provided the Department of Homeland Security with detailed information about the intrusion. Notice what they're not telling you. We didn't allow the FBI to look at our server, nor the DHS. They're not saying that. We worked with them. What, you took their phone calls? You provided information that CrowdStrike gave you to them, but you wouldn't let them look at it, right? Right. And here's the last paragraph. The intelligence community has no doubt that the Russians attacked the DNC in an effort to disrupt our election. Remember, they also had no doubt that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. Remember, they had no doubt in the Gulf of Tonkin. Remember, they had no doubt that Iraqi soldiers were taking babies out of their cribs and throwing them on the ground, incubators to kill them. Remember, they had no doubt about that? That's why we went into all those wars. Each one of those things were a lie. They had no doubt. Let me tell you something about our intelligence agencies. Our intelligence agencies kill, murder, and overthrow democratically elected governments before fucking breakfast. The FBI infiltrates social movements. They fucked over this. The only person who disputes, so they say the intelligence community has no doubt the Russians attacked. That's right there. That's what this is. Brr, double-fisted, jerk me off. Bullshit. The intelligence community said so. They also said Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. And here we are, $5 trillion and 6 wars later. The intelligence community has no doubt. The only person who disputes this is Donald Trump, who has shown zero interest in protecting our country from future attacks and is now trying to distract Americans from the devastating healthcare repeal. I don't know if you noticed what's not in that the FBI looked at their servers. That's what's not in that. And I just showed you the video of the head of the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, who was flummoxed that the Democrats refused his help to secure their servers. Flummoxed. So, anything? Any reaction to this, Steph or Ron?
Well, I have to say immediately, I want to know who wrote this rubbish. What is this, Tom Perez? Who is this, Donna Brazil? Who wrote this? This is so ridiculous. And that they have to conclude with, oh, yeah, Donald Trump's the only one who wants to talk about this. I don't think he does. And the bottom line is, of course, we all want health care, but that's not what we're talking about right now.
Talk about distractions. They're doing the exact. So this is what the Democrats do now because they're Republicans. These corporate Democrats are Republicans. And so what they're doing, their vulnerability was Russia, so they put it on their opponent. That's just what Karl Rove used to do. Whatever is your greatest vulnerability, you throw it on your opponent.
Well, and I want to add, there's a little bit kind of gaslighting go on because you talk about distracting. Well, that's what the Russia hysteria was. And when I say Russia hysteria, I don't mean that the Trump administration doesn't look shady. They do, sure. But the over-amplification of it was grossly irresponsible by the DNC, by the media, and everybody involved. And I think it's also worth pointing out again, even though I know we've done it on the show in the past, people are getting really weary of this stuff.
Yes.
Even people in the corporate press are expressing their weariness, and it's because of stuff like this.
We just did a segment yesterday, check the channel, about even MSNBC's telling the Democrats stop talking about Russia. Nobody gives a shit about Russia. People have real problems. People don't have clean drinking water. People are under mountains of debt just to go to college. People that can't afford their health care still. People have shit jobs. 50% of all wage earners in America earn less than $30,000 a year. People have problems. People do not have the luxury like a Neera Tanden or Joan Walsh or Tom Perez or a Keith Ellison to give a shit about Russia. They don't have time. They have fucking lives that are in peril.
It's weird that nobody gave two shits about Russia when Bill Clinton was getting money, $500,000.
That's weird. Bill Clinton got a $500,000 payday for one speech from a Kremlin bank.
Nobody cares.
Nobody
but
cared.
Also, how much uranium did Hillary Clinton help?
20%? 20% of all our domestic uranium production went to the Russians.
So she seemed pretty fine with that.
That's okay. Again, it's all made up. Just in case you're not sure about it, you can be sure now. They're full of shit, and this shows they're full of shit. 100%. You're going to trust the whole thing is they're liars. They admitted in the DNC lawsuit in Florida that they don't have to run a fair election. The WikiLeaks proved that they're cheaters and liars, and they won't even give their server to the FBI. So and I would love to see Dave Weigel and the Washington Post do a fucking piece on this, but they won't because they're part of it. They just hired John Podesta. They are the establishment. They are the CIA. Jeff Bezos' deal with the CIA is worth twice as what the fucking Post is worth. So that I would love to see that. Not gonna happen. That's why you got to come to YouTube. Because the Washington Post ain't gonna fucking tell you the truth. I did a whole 30-minute segment with Norman Solomon last night telling you how bad they are, talking about how the New York Times just got rid of their public editor. So the mainstream news, ignore them. That's why people, and you wonder why people get their news from YouTube? Hey, the next live Jimmy Dore show is July 17th. That's right, July 17th. That's a Monday in Burbank, California. Get your tickets right down here or go to jimmydorecomedy.com. July 17th, Burbank, California, live Jimmy Dore show.